The New York team seemed to be good. There was a boo-boo for Hollywood. Robbie got sent packing. Apparently, Cam Akers is lacking. And Brady yelled because of course he would. Welcome to the Mish. All right, everybody, welcome to the Week 7 episode of the Mish. I'm again in a new location. Got my backyard looking at me, I guess, right here, or I'm looking at it. And obviously you're looking at me here, but you can see myself a bit here too. It seems to be delayed and been a bit glitchy. When I'm recording, we'll see if it catches up here. But I mean, you can see it back there a little bit. Kind of weird. Never really done this before with the whatever. But yeah, so that was a fun limerick, I guess. Usually, also just a little bit behind the scenes. I usually see myself recording on my phone, but it flips everything, and so I'm recording using the backwards phone, the part where I can't see it, which is part of the reason why I put it up on the TV, so that I can see myself, albeit slightly delayed. But it's not a big deal. Anyway, before we get any further, I usually do beers during my Mishpo recordings, but I've had obviously every single episode of beer pretty much. This time I thought I'd do a little bit different. I'm not quite sure what. Oh, it's a Monaco cocktail, Sun Crush. It's a premium mixed drink made with tequila, orange liqueur, and natural flavors. 9% alcohol, so it contains tequila. It says on the thing. This is from our fridge. Not quite sure where it came from. It's been in there for quite a while, so I figure it's probably fair game. So we'll just crack it open and drink it, I guess. And if you know the rules of the flip game, it's very bubbly. It's kind of like a soda, but since it's a tall, skinny can, that means I get 2 flips. And so I'm going to take a quick sip. It's a lot less foamy than beer, which is kind of cool, I guess. But yeah, after the episode, I will do 2 flips, and that'll be fun. Anyway, after what was probably about 3 weeks of no trades, we had 3 trades in quick succession, all within like an hour or so. So we'll quickly dive into those. The first trade was Michael traded Michael Gallup, Antonio Gibson, and Devonta Smith to Fiala for Dalvin Cook, Kareem Hunt, and Marquez Valdez-Scantling. Generally, when you're doing trades, obviously you're trying to get the best player in the trade. And in this case, you could argue Devonta Smith is up there, but I would say that Michael received the two best players in this trade in Dalvin Cook and Kareem Hunt, both very solid running backs, maybe underperforming for some of them. But yeah, I definitely think Michael won this trade. Dalvin and Kareem are going to be very solid running backs, I think, for the rest of the season. And, Marquez is just kind of tossed in there. Devonta Smith, I do think he is pretty solid. But I don't think he's quite at the level of the 2 running backs that Mike received. And then Michael Gallup returning seems to be getting worked in quite a bit, pretty decently, especially, and then Dak's coming back, so that'll help him out. And Antonio Gibson, he had a good start to the season when Brian Robinson was not playing. However, since he is back, Gibson has been delegated to primarily kick return. So, like I said, definitely think Michael won this trade. And I didn't want to be too vocal about it at the time because I was working on my own trade with Fiala, which was I traded Cam Akers and a 2023 10th round pick to Fiala for a 2023 8th round pick and $24 fab. I needed to clear a roster spot to pick up a quarterback because Jalen Hurts is on bye this week, but I didn't want to drop anyone, and I knew Fiala had been interested in Cam for a while, and so I'm like, well, I'll just take some fab and a pick. So I got myself an 8th and 24 fab, bringing me back up to 80 fab. And now I think I have like 5 5th-round picks or 8th-round picks. So my mission of getting all of the 8th-round picks has been working out nicely. Yeah, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 8th-round picks. So it's working out well for me. I think it's a good trade. I'm not really sure what Akers will do. Currently, probably going to be done with the Rams. And obviously, he could be sent somewhere that has a good need for running backs. And so that'll work out well for him and for Fiala. But if he's sent somewhere and is treated as like a backup or, doesn't really get good looks at running back, I think this could work out fine for me. So that is that. Moving us on to the third and final trade. State Farm traded Christian McCaffrey, DJ Moore, a 2023 7th and a 2023 11th, to Lincoln for Jalen Waddle and Najee Harris. I think Christian McCaffrey is easily probably the best player in this trade. I do think Jalen is second, very solid receiver, but I mean, Christian McCaffrey is freaking Christian McCaffrey. So, very good Christian McCaffrey. Much better, in my opinion, than Najee. Najee has been getting less and less effective and producing for fantasy in the last couple weeks, as the Steelers are just not a very good team. And then DJ Moore, obviously very talented, but has bad quarterbacks around him, and so never really quite got the usage of the quarterbacks that he would like. But he's rumored to potentially be on the move. They already traded away Robbie Anderson. Maybe, I don't know if they'll trade away another receiver, but if he goes somewhere like Kansas City or maybe, I guess, Green Bay or somewhere where they could use a running or receiver, that'll turn out very well. And then obviously the picks are pretty nice too, a 7th and an 11th, right in the range where it's not too much to ask for, but it's still pretty decent, right around the middle of the draft, those 2 picks. So I would say Lincoln probably won this trade. Obviously, anything can happen in fantasy, but just off the bat here, I think I will give this one to Lincoln. Oh, no. I'm going to take a quick sip, and then we'll jump into the recap from last week's matchups. That is pretty tasty, by the way. Kind of sweet, maybe for my taste, but not bad. Alrighty. First up, we've got me versus Brian. Going into the week, Brian was one of the top teams in the league, and I was one of the bottom teams, and yeah, boy, finally got himself a win. Very good performances. Brandon Ayuk had the double touchdown game, 28.3 points from him. Gabe Davis, not too bad, 15.4 points from him. Mooney actually did something, 13.8. Could have been more if he would have caught that ball right away. But I would probably contribute this win for me just more to the fact that Brian's team underperformed. Ken Walker did very well, 19 points from him. And other than that, Justin Jefferson, 16.7. So you probably want a bit more from him. Terry McLaurin, only 7.2. The Broncos defense, not too bad actually, 10.75. And then Aaron Rodgers only got 9.84 points. In the end, I ended up getting the victory here. 109.7 to Brian's 85.69. Moving us on to Caleb versus Michael. This one was not that close either. A bit higher scoring than my matchup with Brian. Ramondre Stevenson did very well, 25.1 from him. Devonta Smith, 15.4, the traded away player from Michael's team. But other than those two, not super great. Gibson, 8.3. 3.4 from Cortland Sutton, and only 12.72 from Tom Brady, so not that great. On the other side, some pretty good performances. Deion Jackson, I believe his name is. Yep, the fill-in starter for the Indianapolis Colts, 28.1 points. So we'll see when Jonathan Taylor returns, if he can put up similar numbers, stuff that he's used to putting up. 18.4 from Kamara, 32.2 from Jamar Chase. Very good. Very good. 2 touchdowns for him as well. And Joshua Palmer, not too bad. 14.7 points. Caleb got the win in this one. 124.27 to 91.27, which will bring us on to T-Corn versus Bruce. This one also quite high scoring and a bit closer than the other two matchups, but still not all that close. Brees Hall, 20.1, so pretty good from him. Saquon, 18.5. Michael Pittman finally did some really good stuff. 26.4, 14.4 from Amari Cooper. CeeDee Lamb, not too bad. 12.7 points. And then over on Bruce's side, Josh Allen, 25.36 points. Very good stuff from him. Tyreek Hill, 29.7. 10.5 from Noah Fant. And a very solid 23.4 from Chase Claypool. And the Vikings defense wasn't that bad either. 15.5 points from them. Bruce got the win. 138.66 to 113.37, which will bring us on to Fiala versus Abby. This one was a bit closer, and I believe it had the lowest scoring team on the week. Abby, 27.16 points from Matt Ryan, so probably his best game on the season. Had to throw the ball crazy, like 58 times from him, so pretty crazy stuff. Very, very good from him. Cooper Kupp, 16.7 points, 16 from Debo. Zach Ertz got 14. We'll see how he can do now that DeAndre Hopkins has fully returned and Robbie Anderson is now there, but they do have no longer Tyreek Hill. And then over on Fiala's side of the ball, Lamar Jackson, a bad 15.1 points. Not too great from him. Dalvin, only 15.3. Probably part of the reason why he traded him, but we'll see how that turns out for you. And then all around, just not great performances. 1.2 from Kareem Hunt. I can see how maybe that trade got done now. But yeah, Abby got the victory here, 104.41 to 68.04 from Alex Fiala. Moving us on to Sam versus State Farm. Patrick Mahomes, 21.62 points from him. Pretty solid. Christian McCaffrey off his roster now. 22.8 from him. 22.1 from Leonard Fournette. So pretty solid stuff from him. Miles Sanders, 14.2, but the negative 1.25 points from the Jacksonville Jaguars defense. First negative I've seen, I believe, this season in a matchup that I've been going over. So not that great. Tyler Boyd, 12.6, 15.5 from Chris Godwin, 19.2 from Kelsey, 15 from Thielen, 10.7 from T. Higgins, 15.6. Ezekiel Elliott, Austin Eckler, 24.3 points, so not too bad from him. In the end, Sam got the victory, 132.68 to State Farm's 106.67, which will bring us on to Colin versus Derek. I believe this is the lowest scoring and the closest matchup of the week. Kyler Murray, not that great, 13.88. Gets a new receiver back this week and a new receiver from another team. So we'll see how well he can do going forward. Darrell Henderson may be the lone back over there in Los Angeles, 13.2 points from him. Not too bad, 16.3 from George Kittle. Brighter days, I'm sure, are ahead for him. And not too bad, Jason Myers, 10 points, your kicker there, Colin. Which will bring us over to Derek's side. 16.5, Kirk Cousins, not super great. Your running backs, Clyde and David Montgomery, combined for about 12.3 points. And when I say about, I mean exactly, because I just did that quick math in my head. 30.8 from Stephon Diggs. Very, very good stuff from him. And the Eagles defense, not too bad. 8.5 points from them. They are, I believe, the number 2 defense on the season. So pretty good. The Eagles are very good all around. Just keep giving Jalen Hurts rushing touchdowns. Anyway, Derek got the victory here, 93.3 to 38.53, which will bring us on to the last matchup of the week. Adam versus Lincoln. Carson Wentz, only 4.16 points, not great from him. I believe he did exit the game early, which will contribute to that. Najee Harris no longer on the team, but 12.9 points in his last matchup for Lincoln. I believe you're the only one, just like with me and JT, you were the only one to have Najee up until now, whereas I was the only one to have Jonathan Taylor before I traded him a couple weeks back. J.K. Dobbins, 1.5 points, so not that great, but Jalen Waddle, 15.9 now off the team, but still pretty solid performance. Mark Andrews, 23.6 points, very good stuff. Not so much for Jeff Wilson, who got negative half a point. Kind of crazy. But yeah, negative half a point. A bit better was the 49ers defense, who got 0. So almost didn't even need to start a defense in that case. And by the way, we are switching over to Adam's team. Alan Lazard, 17.6, 13.9 from Alec Pierce. So pretty good stuff from him. AJ Brown, 17.7, very good stuff. And Joe Mixon, 16.8. And of course, Joe Burrow, very good stuff, 13.5 or 32.5 points from him. Adam got the victory here, 103.3 to 76.26. And that will do it with the Week 6 matchups. Now, before we dive into the power rankings and we dive into the matchups after that, I'm going to dive into this drink here, this mixed drink. I just like to check back there just to make sure everything's still good. It's frozen up there, so it's kind of hard to tell how it looks right now, because obviously it's not live. It seems like it's paused at 3 minutes and 14 seconds, which I don't know where we are at the video in this point, and I did have a bit of a muffed start, but I don't know. Hopefully it looks all right. Power rankings. Number 14, we've got Derek. Number 13, Colin. 12, I've got myself, so moving up in the world. Number 11, we've got Fiala. 10, Sam. 9, Adam. 8 goes to Michael. 7, Caleb. 6, Lincoln. Brian's at number 5. 4, we've got Abby. 3, we've got Bruce. 2, we've got State Farm. And number 1, T-Corn. Which will bring us on to Week 7 matchups. First, myself versus Adam. Got Damian Pierce back from the bye, so I'm pretty happy about that. Except Adam has Josh Jacobs back from the bye, so I'm sure that'll be pretty nice for him. And Jalen Hurts, my quarterback, is also on a bye, so I have to be starting Jacoby Brissett. So I'm rocking that David Njoku, Jacoby Brissett stack. Gabe Davis also on bye for me. And you've got AJ Brown on bye, so pretty even maybe. I've been a bit leaning towards Adam, I think. I think, I got him coming off a win. Adam is coming off 4 wins. I do think Adam will get this victory here. Hopefully I'll make it close. Projections aren't always accurate, in my opinion. And so I'm hoping that I actually get the win here and go on a win streak. So I will be picking Adam in that matchup. Caleb versus Brian. Speaking of buys, we do have quite a few players either coming back from bye or going into bye. Devontae Adams over on Michael's. Or what did I say? Oh, this is the wrong. We'll just do this one first then. T-Corn versus Michael. Speaking of buys, yeah, Devontae Adams coming back from the bye for Michael. So I'm sure he'll be a welcomed resuming to your team, as well as Amon-Ra St. Brown. And then newly acquired Kareem Hunt is starting for you this week. And Marquez Valdez-Scantling from that trade. Quite a few players on bye. And Devin Singletary probably would have started, but they're obviously on bye. Over on T-Corn's side of the ball, Dallas Goedert currently on bye, obviously, for your tight end, T-Corn. And looking at your roster right now, you do not currently have another tight end. So if you're in the market for a tight end, I've got two, I think, pretty good tight ends. Let me know. Otherwise, you'll have to find one off waivers. I'm not sure how close or how much you'd want to do that. But with all that said, I'm sure T-Corn will obviously find himself a tight end. And I will be picking him to win this matchup against Michael. And I do think it will be decently close. Now, moving us on to Caleb versus Brian. Speaking as what I was going to say before, Brian has been, or currently is, heavily affected by buys. Justin Jefferson's on bye. Irv Smith, your tight end, is on bye. Stafford is on bye, your quarterback. He had him benched anyway, but now he's not available to you. But you do have some players coming back from bye, including Derrick Henry and Darren Waller. So you'll be good in plugging in that tight end spot with Darren Waller. And obviously, Derrick Henry is very good. And Chris Olave did not play last week with injury, concussion he had. So I'm sure he'll be getting back into that lineup this week and will do good for you. Over on Caleb's side of the ball, just the same old for him. Alvin Kamara, very good. Jamar Chase, very good. Mike Williams, bit down week. Only had a few receptions, I believe. Just that close on another one for quite a few yards, like 30-plus yards, but 'twas not to be. But you do have Tyler Higbee on by your tight end, so I'm sure you'll be missing him as he catches a lot of balls. And James Conner's still injured. We'll see if he can come back and play on Thursday. I will be picking Brian. Currently, projection-wise, Caleb is projected to crush him, but Brian is missing a few players from bye and from players he'd rather start. So I do think Brian's going to win. I do think it's going to be close, though. Which will bring us to Derek versus Lincoln. Where are you? There we are. Derek versus Lincoln. Yeah, we got some newly acquired players in this matchup as well, notably Christian McCaffrey and DJ Moore. Very good players, those two, in terms of skill, and Christian McCaffrey actually puts it on the field. So we'll see if he can do that again, and if DJ Moore can do it for once. No buy issues for Lincoln, so he'll be having his best, 9 out there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 out there. So that's Lincoln's team in a nutshell. Over on Derek's side, quite a few buys. Your defense, the Eagles, Stephon Diggs, another Bill, Zach Moss, you probably wouldn't have been starting him, but still, and then Kirk Cousins. You do currently have Jimmy G plugged in there for quarterback, so not too bad from him. Going up against Kansas City, likes to give up passes, and so that's what Jimmy G does. No other glaring issues I see from this lineup. Pretty solid all around, I would say, but I will still be picking Lincoln, and I do not think it will be particularly close. Which will bring us on to Bruce versus Fiala, a pair of old co-workers from Dick's Sporting Goods. In terms of bye, obviously we got Josh Allen, very, very good quarterback, that Allen guy is. And then Dawson Knox, another Buffalo Bill for Bruce. And then Devonta Smith, newly acquired for Fiala, but also newly acquired. Michael Gallup is currently in that lineup. He is there along with Lamar Jackson, who's hopefully going to have a bounce-back game. DeAndre Swift, we'll see if he can get back into the action and play coming off that bye week. Travis Etienne has been getting more and more work in this offense. That is the Jacksonville Jaguars. Got Kyle Pitts in there, finally, after a couple-week hiatus. We'll see how well Kyle Pitts can do if he can actually break 10 points again. And DeAndre Hopkins returning from that 6-game suspension. We'll see how well he can do in his immediate return on Thursday night. Which will bring us over to Bruce's side of the ball. His fill-in quarterback this week is Marcus Mariota, so not a terrible choice. And he is throwing to the main target of Kyle Pitts. So hopefully that will negate some of that positive points that Pitts would get. Brian Robinson, after being shot, he's played a couple weeks and he's been looking pretty solid and the bell cow for Washington. So I'm sure he'll do pretty well. Another Atlanta pass catcher, Drake London. I'm sure he'll do pretty solid. Has been impressing that rook. And then Chase Claypool finally got into the action. Maybe with Kenny Pickett playing, he'll be pretty good. Actually, I know he left with the game, so those points may have came from what's his face, Mitchell. But yeah, we'll see how this goes. I think Bruce is going to win this matchup, and I do think one of the teams is going to underperform compared to their projections. Which will bring us on to probably the matchup this week that I'm most interested in, other than my own. State Farm versus Abby, the married couple. I believe. I'm sure you played last year, obviously, but the first time I believe you're playing this season, so it should be very fun. In terms of buys, it looks like Abby's missing Cooper Kupp, so not a big deal. But State is missing Miles Sanders and the Buffalo Bills defense, so I'd say it's probably about even. Obviously, Cooper Kupp is very good. The number one, I believe, receiver on the season thus far. Currently, I think he's outpacing what he was last year, so that's pretty dang impressive. We're still paused at 3. Well, I think we moved ahead 2 seconds. But anyway, getting TJ Hawkinson back is Abby at tight end. And other than that, nothing other affected by the bye. We'll see if Aaron Jones can have his breakout performance for the Packers' sake. Hopefully he does. But I wouldn't mind if it went to A.J. Dillon more so. George Pickens has been playing pretty solid, especially since Kenny has taken over. And, just a couple other players that were pretty usually good. Ertz and Devo. We'll see how well those guys can do. Obviously, like I mentioned, DeAndre Hopkins is back, so we'll see if that takes away from Zach Ertz and how much. Moving us on over to State Farm side, got a couple new players in here. Najee Harris instead of Christian McCaffrey, and Jalen Waddle as opposed to DJ Moore. So we'll see how those players will play in place of where they were last week. Mentioned the bye weeks already. And coming back, we've got Hunter Renfrow. We'll see how well he can do after that rest week. And other than that, pretty straightforward lineup. Obviously, Patrick Mahomes, pretty solid player. We'll see if Mike Evans can get a bit more involved, see if he can catch himself a touchdown or two. I've got him in a league where you only count touchdowns, so I would not mind a couple touchdowns for Mike Evans. So I think this matchup will probably be a bit close. But I will be picking Abby, and I like to give a little bit of a bonus prediction for each matchup, and I predict that as a result of this matchup, someone's going to end up sleeping on the couch. Not naming who, but it should be interesting. Oh, and a quick time check. We are at exactly 4 o'clock right now. So 4 o'clock on Wednesday, October 19th. So before we'll just finish this before we get into our last matchup of the week. And that 9% alcohol definitely rings true with when you're drinking it, because I can definitely feel it a little bit. Oh, moved ahead another second. Alrighty. Sam versus Colin, the last matchup of the week. We'll start with Colin's side. Kyler Murray. We'll see how well he can do with his number one target, DeAndre Hopkins, back. And Jonathan Taylor, speaking of back, we'll see if he can actually play this week after being out for a few weeks there. See if you can actually use him to a decent extent. Some bye players for you, Colin, are Allen Robinson and Darrell Henderson. A couple Rams. And let's see, coming back from bye, DJ Chark. So we'll see how well those guys can all do. Michael Carter, obviously, kind of taking second fiddle now to Breece Hall, but still definitely a risk for touchdowns. Well, not a risk, but definitely able to get those touchdowns. Got a couple the other week. So Over on Sam's side, we've got Tua Tagovailoa looking to make his first start since that scary injury concussion a few weeks ago. I actually saw today that Tua did not remember the sack play or being taken out on the field or taken out of the field from on the stretcher, but he does remember the ambulance ride to the hospital. So kind of scary stuff there, but he seems to be good to go. Obviously, some very solid players over on Sam's side. Austin Eckler, Zeke, T. Higgins, Chris Godwin, Travis Kelce. Very good players. Rocking that double tight end with Gesicki over there in your flex, and double Bengal with Tyler Boyd. And then the Ravens defense. In terms of bye week players, you do have Adam Thielen currently on bye. Not sure if he would have slotted. Probably would have been in that flex spot. And then Brian Skoranek, Ben Skoranek from the Rams. Probably wouldn't have started him, so that's no harm, no foul there. Anybody returning from bye at a quick glance, it does not appear so. So you are good to go. I will be picking Colin in this matchup. So I do think it will be close, though. But yeah, that'll do it for this week's episode. I like changing up the locations. I'm trying to I have a couple other places that I'm sure I'll do it from. In the basement, I'm sure, maybe with some fun stuff playing on projector down there. Maybe I'll do an episode from bed. I've been thinking probably I'll do an episode maybe from the car. Might be a bit dangerous, but we'll see. I don't know. There's a couple other places I could go. So I'm not really sure. I'm sure I've already used one place twice, the chair, which is right to my left here. Lily's sleeping on it. And Loki's down on the floor there. But, there's plenty of places I'm sure I can record from. But, yeah, that'll do it for this week's episode. So, with that, thank you, and thank you. All right, I just stopped the recording. Oh, there's back on the TV, and everything seemed to be good. And there's Loki, like I said, wagging his tail, and Lily's sleeping away. So here comes the flips, and like I said, we're doing two. We will do the first one for. We'll do it for Fiala. Nope, and let's do the other one for. We'll do it for Lincoln. So close. One of these days I'll get it right, buddy.